Howdy folks, high value DMD. Don't just give me your subscription, but please let me earn it. Let me earn your like, and let me earn your comment. If you don't know who I am, I'm going to graduate as a dentist here in just a few months, and this channel is about the life of a zillennial. I am a millennial Gen Z. I'm right on the border between those two generations, and I like to share my experiences about career and dating and finance, all those things. Religion. In particular, this video is going to be titled, Evangelical Dating is Trash. Garbage. En español, se llama basura. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I have been a Christian for 22 years. I'm 27, and at 5 years old, I made a genuine commitment to become a Christian. I felt conviction over my sin, and I wanted God to come into my life to save me. And I have been with that commitment ever since. When I make a decision, I stay with it. I grew up in the church. I say the church because evangelical Protestant Christianity isn't connected, okay? It's separate bodies. Autonomy is valued in that tradition. But I grew up in a church that my granddad built with his own hands, and that was a Protestant church, but it's a traditional style church. I then went on to a Baptist church when I was in 6th grade. And I've been a part of the Baptist faith, I guess you'd say, since then. That's how I would affiliate myself. I feel as if I've fit in with them the most. In recent years, I don't exactly know where I fit in sometimes. Maybe that's another video. I'm going to talk about dating in particular, and I'm going to be pretty heavy-handed against church culture about dating. First I want to say I was praying for someone to come in my life for quite a long time, and I think God answered that prayer, and I actually met my fiance on Hinge. That's not a advertisement for Hinge, okay? Your mileage may vary. I was on dating apps for years. I'm gonna say when I started dental school, I was on dating apps for about 2.5 years, being really serious, because at that point when I started dental school, I wanted to go ahead and find somebody to marry. It's like, okay, I'm figuring out my career. That's I pretty much know how that's going. It's time to add this other portion into my life. I did almost everything you could think of. I went to church, and to be honest, I mainly was going to church to find someone to marry. I went to church because I agree with the message, because I agree with fellowship, and I want to worship God. I believe God is due His worship. He's done so much for me. The least I can do is show my gratitude to Him. Also, church is a social place. It's a safe place. It's where you're most likely to find people that have similar values to you. And so I went to church faithfully to try and find someone to date. It just never really panned out. And I think God has a plan for all of us, but I went to a lot of churches actually. I had one church that I was a member of. I would go to Bible studies. I jumped around to several Bible studies. I went faithfully, like every week, and I had a lot of tests and exams and stuff. Sometimes I had to go every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. I tried to be involved as much as I possibly could, honestly, while trying to keep up my grades, because I'm trying to be a specialist after dental school. So grades are important, career is important. I'm trying to build this life for a future wife and children, right? It seemed like when I would go to these Bible studies, most people, I don't know what it is, but they weren't really looking for what I was looking for. A lot of people weren't eager to how do I say, the environment, it's not really just conducive of asking people out. People think that's kind of awkward and weird, actually, to do that. You would be seen maybe as a creep if you were to do that, which is kind of crazy to me. Back when I was dating, I, you ask someone out, right? Hey, you want to get coffee? To me, that is the least serious thing in the world, right? You go get coffee, you get to know someone a little bit better. Some people out there think that is a huge, huge deal. You are skipping a leap away from getting married. If like you should pretty much know if you want to marry that person before you go on a date with them. That type of thing. I actually encountered that I think in 2019 sometime. Yeah. Evangelical young people are weird, man. They are taught to just focus on spiritual distance, focus on your relationship with God and stuff. But it's not impressed upon them to just get flipping married, to go on dates. Quit being scared about going on a stinking date. You would be seen as a creep if you go to a Bible study and you ask for a number. That's how I felt. Or you would really you'd have to like hang out in the group for a while. You have to go to the group things. You hang out in the group, you go get food or whatever, and then maybe it pans out. But still, I remember specifically a couple of groups I ran with. It's just nobody really dated each other. It seemed as if people brought outside people in, and that's the person they would be dating. People they found from elsewhere. I think that church has really done a disservice to my era. It was not impressed upon us to date and get married. It was my own initiative. And I think there's people that I ran with in that group that are still single, not engaged, Look, I'm sorry, but if you're 25, it's time to start looking at dating and marriage. It's not okay just to sit here and work for freaking Chick-fil-A or go to a freaking church camp and be working summers. And look, you got to grow up. I'm sorry, but you can't go your whole life without having sex. You just can't. Most people can't. That's biblical, right? People burn with desire. You should be married. But that's not the only reason why you should be married. Our churches and our leaders have done us a disservice. They did not impress upon us about that. And I think pastors, they should have more of a hand over this. If there is a young man that comes into a church who isn't dating anybody, we have a crisis in this country of loneliness amongst young men, lack of confidence, okay? People are staying at their parents' house till they're 30, 35 years old. They're not getting married. Pastors need to take a role in this. Maybe they do need to be a matchmaker. Maybe they need to write down on a piece of paper who has walked in their door in their age group, and if they're single. Take notes of that. If there's a young woman over here that sat down in a pew one Sunday, and then there's a young man that walks in another Sunday, and hey, maybe you should introduce them to each other. Maybe you should ask the young man, hey, have you seen this person? What do you think of them? Prompt them, okay? Young men are so freaking passive nowadays. They need a nudge on the shoulder. Hey, what do you think of that young lady over there? Have you gone on any dates lately? How's it going for you? And some people, they think that's uncomfortable, and people we shouldn't expect people to get married. We should just celebrate singleness. And I think singleness is good in some ways. I've gone on some fun trips and stuff by myself. But also, come on. How are you going to have future leaders in your church if they're not married? You can't. You can in some ways, but I just don't think that's how it really goes. You need good leaders. You need a deacon who has got a wife, he's got responsibilities. All this, people would counter it and say, If you're single, you have less responsibility, so you can focus on the church and serving and all this. It's like, yeah, but also, those single people are man babies and they're woman babies. Okay, they're adult children. You know, most people, they can't handle that singleness. Not everybody's the same. I'm 27, I'm still single, I'm in my own apartment, I'm about to be a doctor. Yeah, like I successfully launched out of my parents' household. And I have the confidence and the drive to go and I'm extroverted enough and outgoing. I can communicate, and I went on dates. I sought that out, okay? But a lot of people, they need help. They need guidance. And on the internet, you have all this red pill men's going their own way stuff. I'm ranting. Those messages need to be coming from the church, but in a positive, biblical way. There is none of that. There is no answers for young men and young women about marriage and dating. There's none of that. That needs to be pounded. That needs to probably be the number one issue churches deal with. Because when we have all this stuff about, and I love everybody, I don't agree with everybody though. When we have all this stuff about how homosexuality is the cool thing, about how transgenderism is the cool thing, how are we going to counteract that? With cisgendered people in straight monogamous relationships. So we need to foster those relationships. We need to encourage those relationships. We need to do awkward things maybe. We need to do speed dating, or we need to literally have in church budgets where we will give a young man $12 to go on a coffee date. Think about what that would do for society if we budgeted in, instead of buying the newest sound system and all this stuff, what if we put away $1,000 a year to give a young man just to pay for a freaking date so they would have to go? It's just an idea, right? I'm sorry, but this society is going to collapse if we don't encourage dating and marriage within the Evangelical Protestant church. And I will say, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I don't agree with the Mormon church, okay? And I'm not shilling for the Mormon church, okay? I'm not grifting for the Mormon church. I have no affiliation with them. But I will say, they do that right, man. They do that correctly. You have young men, they come home from missions, they go to the young single adults church. They literally have churches for young single adults. And the whole point, in their religion, they think to go to the highest heaven, you have to be married. That's not true whatsoever. Let me just make that clear. But they have in their beliefs, you need to get married. That is going, and there's problems with them too. I'm not saying that they're perfect. I'm not saying the ends justify the means either. But they produce young people getting married, who are having children, who are going to lead the next generation. Those guys, they come back from their 2-year mission trips and they get married. They're freaking adults, man. 22-year-old married Mormon dude is way, way more mature than a 26-year-old evangelical Protestant dude in a Bible study, still working at Chick-fil-A, living in his mom's house. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. That's the way it is, man. I'm just keeping it real with you guys. I'm going to cut this video here. It's getting kind of long. I had to get that one off my chest. So, I hope I earned your subscription. I hope I earned your like. And I hope I earned your comment. Let me know what you think below. Do you agree? Are you an evangelical Protestant who tried to date and maybe it didn't pan out? Or maybe you found somebody somewhere else? Or, hey, are you a Mormon out there, LDS out there, who would like to tell me a little bit about dating? I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, folks.